You've seen constants, abstract methods. Now let me teach you about default methods. So in here within our interface, if we wanted to include a new method, so let's just say that we want to basically have a method that returns the kilometers representation of basically the speed, right? So here, let's just say that we have a method called double, and this will be miles to kilometers. So because I'm in the UK, I use miles, but you can change this around. So now here, if we basically say double and then speed or int, I think currently just working with integers, but you could use double. I think it makes more sense. But now have a look. So what we have now is a problem where both the car class, bicycle, and electric scooter, they have to implement this method in here. So miles to kilometers. Now, what we could do is we could say, right, so instead of us having to force all subclasses, or implementations to implement a new method, maybe what I want to do is to have a default implementation. So here, so if I basically just get the same thing actually, so let's just put it here. There we go, just like that. And here, what I can do instead is I can say default. Now, this is no longer an abstract method. So here we actually have to specify the implementation. Now, what we do is we basically say return and then the speed. So speed times by and then 1.69 basically, right? So this is how you convert miles to kilometers. Here also, we could actually get rid of this. And speed, we already have speed in here, so we could just say get current speed, so whatever speed which is provided. Now have a look, if I go back to bicycle, the error goes away because now we have a default implementation. So the same with electric scooter, and I think it was car. So if I go back to main in here, I can say, so right after the purchase rate, let's just say in here, I want to say south and then car dot, and then you can see miles to kilometers. So if I run this, so this will actually give me, I think it's 0 or 16. Yes, that's because basically, have a look in here, we didn't move, right? So 10, and then we times that by 1.6. So if I say run, we get this in kilometers, right? So this is correct. But you can see that we didn't have to have the subclasses implement the conversion because we just defined a default implementation to our interface, and then we can let basically all implementations use it. Now, obviously, if you want to, you can go to car in here, and maybe just car wants to be a bit different on how it calculates this, or maybe bicycle here. For some reason, it wants to change the default implementation. So here we can actually say override. So we can override and then miles to kilometers in here. So you can see that now it returns vehicle.super.miles to kilometers. But maybe you want this to be different, right? So maybe there's a different conversion or a different way of calculating this, but now you let the implementations themselves decide whether they want to override the method or not. Now, obviously, this is a big benefit because now you are building backwards compatibility API or code, because you don't just introduce a new method in here, so a new abstract method, and then all of a sudden you have to change a bunch of code. So instead, you could just basically introduce it like this, and then you let all implementations decide whether they want to have their own implementations. And to be honest, this is default methods. Now, obviously, you could have more than one. So here, you could just basically do the same. So you could say kilometers. So kilometers to, and then miles, and you could change this if you want, but you can see that basically you are allowed to have multiple default methods. Another thing which I didn't mention is that basically you have constants, abstract methods, default methods, but also you can have static methods within interfaces. So also static methods. And you've learned about static methods before, but to be honest, this is pretty much everything I want you to know about interfaces. You'll get some exercises to put all of this into practice. And as always, if you have any questions, please do let me know. Catch me on the next one.